are true. I have an intuition that I want to steal your hat.
Well,
I'm not going to do it.
It would be the same kind of intuition that leads you to believe that Islam is the truth. Because it seems true to you.
Let me just play devil's advocate with that. If that's true, then there's no point having this conversation. It's all about intuition.
Well,
there's nothing to do with logic, nothing to do with rationality, nothing to do with arguments.
The reason why I don't think that would be correct is because you can try and explain why something is a good thing to do in two different ways. You can either you can try and explain like why is it morally good and well deserved for a person to be considered so evil if they change their religion, for example, that they deserve the death penalty. You can either try and justify that in terms of kind of shared moral values. Like you can try and justify that in terms of, well, because we want to improve human happiness and minimize human suffering, this is what we should do.
Which humans? Because there's people in the world today who, and people previously as well, who believed in a higher master race. And they believed that they needed to make sure that their master race is superior and has more land and has more resources, and all the other races are subhuman. So from their relativistic point of view, they're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, that's what they believe.
Yeah. Why is that wrong according to your worldview? Forget intuition. Use some evidence.
It's wrong. It's wrong because
don't use intuition. Forget intuition. Why is it wrong?
No, you can't not use intuition. You can either you're using intuition in two ways really. You're either using intuition kind of directly and saying morality exists the same way that a tree or a lamppost exists, or you can use intuition indirectly by saying that I believe in this particular religion that was told to me by someone 1,400 years ago.
We're going to step away, my friend. I'd like to give you this.
I don't think I deserve that.
That's good. You deserve it.
No, someone else would get more benefits out of it.
You don't want it, up to you.
No, thank you. But thank you very much.
You don't have to.
That's very
don't
kind of
My
you.
friend,
Thank you.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Okay.
Or you want to finish?
Yeah, I want
See you in a
to
bit.
finish.
Because
Yeah,
I've
sorry.
been here for 3 hours.
Yeah, so
See you later.
yeah, so you're using intuition either directly or indirectly. You're either kind of using your intuition to say kind of.
Look,
it seems
I don't
true to
mind.
me that this
I don't mind
religion
you
is
and me
correct.
having different intuitions. I don't mind that. But if you're to make the claim that one person's intuition is wrong and yours is better, you need to give some evidence for that.
Yeah. The evidence would have to be if you value. Yeah, the evidence would have to be kind of a shared humanity and a shared kind of is fitna human nature? Is that what it means in
what?
Islam? Is fitna human nature?
Fitra.
We'd have to appeal to some concept similar to fitra.
Well, if we're speaking about fitra is about worshipping God.
Well, but
And
it's
look,
another part of it.
let's-
It also means your nature, though, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it does. But your nature. Well, look. Let me just explain what the fitra is. Right. We have people in the world today who are trying to find out about the truth. Right. And they believe that sometimes truth can only be arrived at using logic. But the way you have to think about it is this: your intellect is a hired attorney for your emotional state. Even war criminals, when they've been caught, rather than admitting they're wrong, war criminals will be like, no, I had to do this because of this. I had to do this because of this. So human beings will always try and justify what they already believe inside. The fitra is a natural state you have within yourself. Now, there might be people who say, yeah, religion's all garbage, there's no God, there's no this, there's no that. But when that person is dying on a hospital bed and they've got a few hours left, that's when their ego goes, that's when the pride goes, that's when the fitra comes out. And many times, even hardcore atheists, staunch atheists, they call out to God when they're in trouble. Why? Because it's the fitra, it's the natural state of a human being to call out to God. And the very fact that we
There's
hear...
another interpretation of that, though.
Sorry?
There's another interpretation of calling out to God on your deathbed.
What's the
So
interpretation?
another way of interpreting it would be, once you're about to die, there isn't anything left to lose in terms of how you want to spend the rest of
Sure.
your time. And so they might if they declared their dedication to a religion earlier in life, that would affect how they use their time. Sorry. That would affect how they use their time, and so they might have something to lose by changing their behavior in order to be an observant follower of that religion. But when they're on their deathbed and there's only, hours or that amount of time left, they aren't sort of, from their perspective, losing out on kind of how they spend the rest of their life. It's not as if, because they're now declaring their allegiance to God, that, oh darn, I wish I hadn't done that, because then I'd go and sin a bit more and have a bit more kind of hedonistic fun.
Okay, so
they haven't lost
how on
anything,
earth
so
does that?
They might as
That's
well kind of,
that's not
an interpretation.
That's not an explanation, because if you're to give an explanation, I gave an explanation from my worldview, which is Islam, from the fitrah. If you're to give an explanation, you have to give it in terms of your worldview, which is non-theistic. Forget coming. The thing is, you can come up with any just so story. You can say maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. But when I gave an explanation, from my worldview, that we believe in the fitrah, we believe it's within the human being, we believe that it comes out. With yourself, you have to explain it in terms of naturalism or in terms of non-theism. You can't just say, I have this idea, because else it's just an untestable story.
Yeah, so it's an explanation, because you're saying
it's an ad hoc explanation.
Well, you could say it kind of that applying the fitrah there would be an ad hoc.
No, because I'm taking it from my worldview.
No, but
it's from my worldview. At least I'm attempting to explain something in terms of my worldview. You're not even attempting to explain it in terms of your worldview.
The only thing that makes something ad hoc or not is whether you kind of knew about the result before you kind of gave an explanation for it.
Not really.
And so, yeah.
Ad hoc is just arbitrary.
No. Well. So, for example, you'd say that like some parts of evolutionary biology might be an ad hoc explanation if you said, we observe this, and so the explanation in terms of evolutionary biological terms is this part kind of helped them in this kind of fitness. I'd consider that an ad hoc explanation, because instead of making the prediction and then testing it against the outcome. So the outcome in this case is people calling out or calling out to God, even if they're atheists beforehand, when they feel in urgent need.
But
this is like something that's been known about for a long time. So
okay, but from an evolutionary perspective, that makes no sense. From an evolutionary perspective, you're there to survive and reproduce. But if you call upon a being which, according to a Darwinian naturalistic worldview, does not exist, then it doesn't give you any survival value, any reproductive value.
But
how would it make sense in terms of a Darwinian worldview?
Well, because you do it. Those people do it when they think, I'm going to die unless God helps me. So they think that
from a Darwinian naturalistic point of view, everything is an evolved trait or a byproduct of an evolved trait. So our biochemistry, our genetics, our anatomy, our psychology, our linguistics, our sociology, everything.
Yeah.
If that's the case, what's the need for a unimaginably powerful creator that rather than running away when a tiger's about to kill you, you raise your hands? From an evolutionary perspective, they have no explanation.
No, because the example that's normally used in terms of calling out for salvation isn't like when there's a tiger and there's the option to run away.
Okay, say you're on a hospital bed.
When you're on a hospital bed and you've been told that you have a terminal illness, or it's when you're on a plane and you've been told the plane's going to crash.
Yeah.
Those are options where you can't, or you feel as though you can't do anything else by yourself, and so you ask for the only source of help left to you.
Okay. How does that, and we call that in Arabic dua, calling out to God. How does that make sense in terms of fitness, in terms of survival?
Yeah, how it makes sense is that, so if you wanted to say that kind of we evolved our brain and our psychology, but yet there are these behaviors, why are there certain behaviors that humans do that don't seem to have any hunting value, for example? Things like and I think Dawah is included. Another example would be appreciating a concerto on a piano.
Yeah.
So, and the reason why our brains do that is because it's a useful hunting trait to be able to recognize patterns. And you need a complicated brain in order to recognize patterns. From being able to recognize patterns, that's the primary skill involved in understanding how the world around you works. And so, in order to kind of get this brain which is able to recognize patterns, it's kind of it comes with the territory that you also kind of enjoy being interested by things like piano concertos, and it also comes with the kind of territory that if you're put in a hopeless situation where you can't do anything to help yourself, you ask for help anyway.
Okay, so what you're saying in a nutshell is it's an evolutionary byproduct.
Yeah.
Okay, now if it's an evolutionary byproduct, how would I be able to test whether this hypothesis is actually the case, as opposed to it being an ad hoc explanation?
You probably need greater scientific technology than you have available at the moment.
Well, forget scientific technology. The first thing is you need a theoretical framework to be able to test something. Would you agree with me if something's not testable, then it's not scientific?
Yes.
Okay? If I can't falsify something, it's not science. Right? So and many Darwinists do this, they give you how did this trait evolve X? Natural selection. How did this trait evolve X? Natural selection. To the point where Darwinism can explain a certain event and its opposite, the very opposite of it, with the same explanation of natural selection. If that's the case, how can you falsify anything?
Well, in terms of this example of the claim that many of our kind of more intelligent behaviors
are byproducts of evolution.
Are byproducts of evolution, that are byproducts of a brain that's good at discerning patterns.
Yep.
You could find evidence for that if you were able to. So one branch of evidence would be kind of if you developed an artificial intelligence, which and you purely gave it a general sort of you try to give it in the simplest way a general kind of desire or enjoyment of discerning patterns and finding out how the world works around it, and then if it without much or any other extra prompting, if it then developed these kind of quirks, like kind of it's enjoyed listening to music, or it's
art or whatever.
These other things. Then that would be kind of evidence in favor of this hypothesis I've just put forward.
I don't disagree with the type of explanation that you're actually giving. All I'm doing is highlighting that this type of explanation has been critiqued, and the reason why it's been critiqued is because it's not testable. Karl Popper, he was a very important philosopher of science, and he said Darwinism is not science, it's a metaphysical research program because it can not be falsified. And he's the one who popularized the whole falsification in science. Now, his idea of science, I'm not saying that we should all stick to falsification as the criterion science, but he made a very important point. He was an atheist, he wasn't a religious guy, but he realized there's no way you can show Darwinism to be false because of the way that is constructed.
I would disagree with that in one sense. I'd say that there are certain experiments or ad hoc explanations which aren't testable.
So
by
give me anything that will falsify Darwinism. Anything.
So for example, if we explored the galaxy, we found another Earth with animals and human beings, and we found the alien civilization had actually implanted that planet, and this alien civilization was much older than we were, and they said, oh hey, it took you guys long enough to make it off Earth and come find us. Yeah, we actually created your planet as well. That would disprove Darwinism.
Okay. Well, that's not according to Richard Dawkins, because Richard Dawkins says if we do discover other life, in other parts of the universe in the God delusion, he said that we can be pretty sure that they evolved via Darwinism. So in fact, he'll actually reconfirm Darwinism, according to him.
Okay, so a broader type of Darwinism that could be considered.
Yeah, so I said to you,
but
give me anything that will falsify Darwinism. You can't.
No, but like that would definitely falsify certainly a mainstream type of Darwinism, because mainstream.
Okay, so forget that. Give me something that will falsify Darwinism. We're not talking about mainstream or modern synthesis or extended synthesis. Give me anything that will falsify Darwinism at all.
Well, I feel like I have given an example.
Go on then.
Because so at the moment Darwinism thinks the most likely general biological understanding of evolution and development of life understands that the reason why we all have almost entirely the same genetic code, i.e. the way that we link a set of free amino acids to a set of free nucleotides to a particular amino acid, that's the genetic code. Like the reason that is the same in all life on Earth is because we have one common ancestor. That's the explanation at the moment, and so that could be disproven by other life forms seeding us.
If that is the case, and by the way, there's a whole discussion about different genetic codes, not just one. That wouldn't disprove Darwinism, because Darwinism is not a theory of similarity. You're speaking about homology now. Darwinism is the theory of the development of life via natural selection working on random mutations. So even if what you said was true and we discovered a metallic type of life, say, which wasn't carbon-based, which was metal-based, that still wouldn't disprove Darwinism.
No, that wouldn't. But I'm saying.
The whole discussion. Let's not go off on a tangent. You need to give me anything that'll disprove Darwinism, and so far you haven't.
So you can disprove Darwinism as the source of all biodiversity. But by what I'm saying, if you found evidence that aliens had seeded all the current life forms on Earth, and we'd actually all been created in a lab, that would disprove Darwinism.
Okay. That wouldn't disprove Darwinism. Now let me give you a proof.
That would disprove Darwinism.
You've heard of Francis Crick. You've heard of Francis Crick.
Yes.
Right? Now he was an atheist evolutionary biologist. He's the one who won the Nobel Prize for discovering the structure of DNA.
Yes.
Right? Now he believed in the theory of panspermia. He believed that life was seeded on Earth that came via rockets from advanced civilization elsewhere in the universe, exactly what you're describing, and he was a pure Darwinist. Still, every single example that you've given me has already been discussed, and it doesn't disprove Darwinism. The reason why Karl Popper critiqued Darwinism is because the way it is framed, it's impossible to falsify. And you still haven't given any examples.
Okay. So yeah, I hope it's clear or audible to the people who might end up watching this on YouTube. But I explained what I gave was an example of Darwinism not being the source of all biodiversity on Earth. If you want to talk about what if planet Earth was seeded but Darwinism sort of still takes place, then we can break it down into the stages of Darwinism. So, the stages of Darwinism are first, there's a struggle to survive. Not every kind of member of a species will end up passing on their genes, and we can test that claim, and that claim on this planet is true. So that's one thing that's testable.
Okay, look. When you spoke about the different types of Darwinism, or Darwinism being an explanation for the origin of biodiversity or development of life, it doesn't make a difference, because Darwinism is natural selection plus random mutations leads to us. Okay? So whether we speak about another planet or we don't, right now, say if we have the idea that the human eye evolved, right? And it evolved to help you survive and reproduce. Just the human eye. How could you disprove this or give something which will falsify the Darwinian idea that the human eye evolved via natural selection. How could you show that that is false, the human eye?
For the human eye in particular,
Yeah.
you could show that's false if you